What's going on, everybody? Thanks for checking out the Among the Ashes podcast this week. We're your hosts, Wes, Chris, and Marcus. Before we jump into tonight's episode, we want to take just a minute and say thank you to each and every one of you guys that's been following along with us so far. It really does mean the world to us. We really, really do appreciate it. If you're checking us out on YouTube, if you don't mind, go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. We do want to hear from you guys and get some feedback on the show. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you can stay up to date on new episodes. When you're done there, if you don't mind, jump over to one of these platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or YouTube Music, and give us a follow there. This helps the show to grow as well. That's true podcast platform. You don't get the video, but you do get the audio, and you can download an episode for whenever you don't have a chance to just sit and watch it on YouTube. Also, if you don't mind, share the show with your friends and help us to get out there to the masses and tune in every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, with the occasional bonus episodes on Tuesdays, also at 9 a.m. Central Time. Lastly, if you would like to be a part of the show or you have a show idea, shoot us an email at amongtheashes@yahoo.com, or you can jump over to our DMs on Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram, all searchable by Among the Ashes Podcast. So now that all that's been said, let's get into tonight's episode.
My mom did when they got married. She sure didn't. She wasn't marrying a preacher,
Right?
No.
You know,
Right.
So
I mean, they were happy in Huntsville.
They get pulled into it too, and it's a strain. You know, we lived in a glass house, and we were a family. We were a close family. We were still to this day. We are close.
Very close.
So you feel the hurts and the aches and the pains, and you feel like you can tell when your dad's going through something because one of his sheep's not acting right, or they got a problem that he just, you know, all he can do is say, you're gonna have to pray and read these verses right here and stand.
Yeah.
And when people pass away, when he's at the bedside at the hospital and they've prayed earnestly and diligently over family members or children, we've seen it all, and they pass away and they wonder why we got, you see when dad doesn't have an answer, when he feels like, man, because it hurts him when his prayers, just not, I wouldn't say come up short, but we've all prayed for somebody that.
Well, I think the problem is, and one thing that we don't do well enough in the church is we don't teach God's will. We teach that God is a genie in the bottle to be wished upon and to grant our wishes, right? Mm-hmm. We don't preach that God sustain us through the hurt and show us your will, show us your plan. We want to blame God. God's a big, bad, mean God, boo-hoo. No, there's a plan there, and while that plan does hurt us in some instances, He will sustain us through that. He will bring us through that, and that shifts gears here. Your dad passed. How old were you when he passed, Kendall?
I was 28.
28.
I was 23.
So 23. So, 54 years old is young, especially, I mean, it's really young knowing your birthday's next week and you'll be 52.
52.
Marcus's birthday, by the time this airs, Marcus has turned 52. Life is short and it happens fast, and whenever those moments come, I feel like the church doesn't do as good a job as teaching that God is our Father and He's a good Father and that He cares about us. He cares about our feelings. He cares about our emotions, everything that we're going through, but He does have a plan. Right. Could I tell you what God's plan was for Randy Beck dying at 54? I don't know, but I do know there's a plan. You know what I mean? And I see that plan because Dora has continued to thrive. Yeah. Dora Church of God has continued to move forward. I'm not saying it hasn't had its ups and downs and its hiccups and things like that, but it has continued. God's plan has continued, even though Randy Beck is not the pastor there. Yeah. But he left such an impact and legacy there. Yeah. His vision that God gave him is the reason that church has carried forth over the last 15 years, and I think that's what we fail to see, and we definitely fail to teach it in church. We'll just pray and ask God, and He'll do it.
Right.
We got to realize that a no is an answer to prayer.
Yeah.
Just because you pray for something doesn't mean, like you said, genie in a bottle. God, please let this work out for me. Well, God, why didn't it work out for me? I prayed. I gave it to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, I've saw my father my whole life give himself to ministry and to other people, and at times, yeah, he left us on vacations or at family functions, ball games. He missed stuff from us. But he was at a hospital. He was comforting a family that their loved one had just died or was dying, and they needed their pastor.
Right.
You know,
and I think that's the thing people don't think about, and I think it's things that kids and wives don't always understand either, right? No. It takes a special woman to be married to a minister, especially one that's following God. And it takes special kids to understand when dad does need to leave a ball game, you know? Hey, we just sat down to dinner, but this person needs something and I need to go. But it also takes a special man to realize, hey, when somebody's just being needy versus they actually have a problem. And I feel like Randy was that way. You know what I mean? I feel like he would have made the right call in the right moment, the right decision. So when he passed, I mean, there's not a doubt in my mind. You know, you say your hero just a minute ago. You could never say that. There's not a doubt in my mind that your dad wasn't that, you know. Even before he died.
Oh yeah.
Even absolutely. Before he died. Like I knew y'all looked to your dad, you know, as a role model. Yeah. How did his passing how did it affect you guys? And you can go as deep as you want to go.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it broke me.
Yeah.
I still struggle.
Sure.
You know.
That one's hard, buddy.
It is.
I've been there.
It is, but you know, it's a day-to-day thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'll get him back one day.
Sure.
I'll see him again. You know, just gotta hold on to it.
Yeah.
And can't let it define you. And I have for a while. You know.
Well, let's talk about that. Like, so, what is something you said to God in that moment?
Why? He gave his life to ministry for you.
Yep.
Why are you taking him from me?
Yeah.
A lot of it explicit. For the first time in my life, I cussed God.
Yeah. Very much so.
You know, I cussed him like a dog. Just being honest. I'm just being honest now. You know, surely to God, his life mission is not over. You know, and that's something that I feel like my dad was in God's will every step of the way when he turned his life around to the moment he took his last breath. And I just, you know, they had just built a new church. That new building was just built. Not even, I don't think we'd been in it 2 years. Not maybe just a year.
Yeah.
And he was so excited about that, man. Now, I watched that age him quite a bit doing a building project.
Yeah.
And but he was so just pumped up and fired up about that. We finally got in that new building. The church was starting to grow because that was one thing that he stressed to his youth minister, his music director, his deacons, you know, just his church was you know, it does feel like we're at a stagnant pace, but people aren't going to come and sit just shoulder to shoulder and, you know, pew to folding chair in the choir loft. We've got to expand and we'll start growing. So we got into a new building and new families were coming. And I just was like, man, and what got me the most was, my wife was pregnant with our youngest child, and how happy he was when we told him, you know, in December around Christmas, and you know, I was like, man, I can't even see because me and my wife, we have 4 kids all together. Well, she has 2 older boys, you know, and they're like my own. I've been in their lives since they were about 2 or 3 and 4, and then I had a daughter who wasn't even 2 yet. So we were a blended family. And also we call him our older brother, you know, Gator, shout out, you know, y'all know who he is.
Yeah. Keegan and Luke are good friends.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Luke's so dumb. He's so dumb. Yeah. The good thing is Luke, if you're watching this, you are an incredibly good looking kid and I love you, but you are dumb. He's a dumb blonde.
Yeah, he's the blondest redhead I know.
He cracks me up, man. I love Luke.
I love him to death. But so Gator
slinging pizzas for Domino's.
You know, Gator came and lived with us when he was like 17 or 18 because he had nowhere to go. So Gator was like our big brother, you know, and he was part of it. He, you know, why he chose to come and live in a preacher's house, I'll never know.
No idea.
He chose that. We didn't. He did,
Yeah.
you know. But no, Gator came and lived with us. So we grew up with him, and he got to see Luke. He got to see Erica, which is his, you know, Gator's daughter. He was there when Lindsay and her ex-husband had my oldest one, you know, Cole. He was at the hospital for Eli, which is the, you know, her youngest boy. And then he was at the hospital, or no, he was not at the hospital because I had a daughter, and that was a very, you know, you say you never heard us in a scandal, but that was kind of a very sticky situation.
I forget about that, but yeah, I do remember
that was a
now.
sticky situation. So he didn't get to be at the hospital for Mackenzie. I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
You know, she was 6 months. Yeah, I believe she was, 6 months old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we ever got to hold her and see her. And then Cambry's, you know, so he was actually excited out of his own mouth. It was, hey, this is going to be the first actual biological grandkid.
Beck.
The first Beck that I'm actually going to be at the hospital for.
Yeah.
And he took his last breath. And it's like, what? Like, he got to be there. And I'm not knocking any of the other kids. My two boys are Gators, or any of them. Like, it's like, this man was so faithful to you. So faithful to you. Now I get the Mackenzie situation. That was on me. I get that. That was a bad decision on my part, and it was because of me that he didn't get to be there. But you know, Cambry, like I'm married this time. Everything's the right way. It's the you know, the biblical, you know, way, I guess you want to say it. Like, I'm married. This isn't an out of wedlock kid. This is and you know, he takes his last breath, and I'm like, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of you giving me another child now?
Yeah.
Like what's the purpose of that? Like, you know, that goes through your mind, and like Kody said, like, you know, why? Like, why? Because it's not like the man had been sick. He didn't have cancer.
It was just so
by the time he passed away, he had already dealt with his weight loss.
Yeah, he
had lost a lot of weight. Yeah, he was doing good. You know, him and mom, you know, they were doing good. His church was doing good. It just seemed like, you know, his oldest, you know, his oldest biological son was, you know, about to have a child and everything. And, you know, Cody's fresh out of high school, and, you know, he's 23, you know, that's a, you know, it's so young. And it's like, man, why? Like, there is so much, even if he doesn't need to do anything for you, God, he needs to do a lot for, he's our anchor. Yeah. I've talked to Marcus, and I've talked to you at that men's conference. I talked to Marcus the other day when he come out there to the plant. Like, at that moment, it's like, you just took my compass and my anchor.
Everything.
You just took it away. You just got my best friend, my compass, my anchor. Most importantly, you took my dad. Like, what? You know, like, you can't make this make sense. Yeah. You can't. Are you even real? I went into that.
Yeah.
I went into that hard and heavy for a good long while. Like, maybe my dad got fooled and bought snake oil and gave up his life for a man that doesn't even exist. Mm-hmm. And that's just being as honest as I can be.
Started thinking, it's like, there's thousands of religions. How many other ministers gave their life to theirs? Yeah. Somebody's going to be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it us? Sure. Are we wrong? Yeah. Are we full? You know?
And it just felt like a bad time. It felt like a bad time in his life. And it come because it come out all of a sudden.
Out of nowhere.
You know, I'll never forget. It was yesterday, like January 4th. It's on a Sunday morning. Mom calls, hey, your dad's not breathing good. He's not hardly breathing at all. Well, call 911, not his oldest son. I don't know. What do you want me to tell you? Yeah. All right, gets off the phone, and I head over there. And, you know, of course, he was struggling to breathe. He had what it was. He battled pneumonia a couple times, and he would not step up. The doctors and everybody told him, hey, you need to just would you step away from preaching
Take a
like
break.
you know,
Rest
and
your lungs.
He was not about
Take
to do
some
that.
treatments.
Yeah, take some. He wasn't about to do that. He was no. That God called me to do this. He'll see me through. Sure. That was his mentality, and he did.
Yeah.
But you know, I go over there and help him, and you know, they're like, well, you know, Mr. Beck, you know, let us get the stretcher in here and do. You know, no, I can walk. My oldest boy, my boys will get me to the car. He'll walk. You know. And I help him down, get him loaded up.
And I'll never forget him saying, I don't know if you remember, I'm sorry, I waited too long.
Yeah. I mean, he said that when we got when we got to the hospital.
What do you mean he waited too long?
But we get him loaded up and everything, and they're like, "Where you want to go?" He's like, "My wife can only really go to Princeton. You know, Mom doesn't do interstate. She's, you know, it's just a straight shot. You know, down 78." Well, they called it. There ain't no beds. Well, just take me to St. Vincent's is fine. And we go over there, and me and him are actually at the hospital with him. I think Mom had stayed back or something like that. I don't remember her being there. And if she was, I know she's going to watch this and listen to this. I'm sorry if you were there. I don't remember. My bad. Yeah. But you know, they were doing some tests and this and that, and they were worried about the heart, and he was bleeding eternally. They didn't know where that was coming from. He was having a bad stomach ache, bad, you know, something's going on. And I remember following the doctor out into the hall, and I said, "Hey, you know, Doc, how is he?" He's young, and that helps him out a lot, but he is a sick man, but we're going to get him taken care of. Okay, awesome, yeah. No fault my mom that we were about to, you know, go through what we were
24 days.
Yeah, 24 days that we were about to go through. No idea we were about to. Our lives were about to be changed forever.
Dumped upside down.
You know, so you know, in those moments, like even up until we had to make that harsh decision of, you know, Mom calling us in to the, you know, and the doctors and everything, and sitting us is like, "Hey, look, you know, we're gonna have to turn the vent off. Like we can't." Yeah. You know, they've done trached him at this point, you know, and trying to help him, and, you know, what happens. And, you know, I remember you asked the doctor, "Hey, if this was your father, would you do that? Would you be comfortable doing that?" Yeah. And the lady was like, "Yeah, you're going to have to put it in God's hands." And even like at this point, my faith isn't really shaking yet. I haven't took the big blow yet. I'm like, okay, well, here's where the miracle's about to happen. That's what I started in my mind. We had done talked about in the lobby with Mom and everything. We're like, okay, we'll do it tomorrow at 2:30. That's, you know, we'll call it, you know, we'll do it tomorrow. And, you know, Mom was in agreement. He was in agreement. Yeah. Everybody, his church members. Gator, I could tell you how many people was at that hospital. I mean, over there, like it was just a crowd of people in the hallway. Nurses, doctors that had took care of him and knew him. You know, but everybody was like, watch this. God's about to raise this man up. Until I saw
it went flat.
Until it went flat. And that's when I was like, oh, you know, like I said, explicit. Yeah. You know, I mean,
where are you?
Where are you? You're definitely not in this hospital room. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
So it's been what, 13, 14 years?
No, it has been 12 years.
12 years?
Because Cambry's 11. She was born the July after he passed away. She'll turn 12 this coming July. It's been, you know, 12 years. Yeah. You know. Yeah. So, 12 years.
So clearly over 12 years it's not gotten any easier.
No.
Because I can't talk to either of you about your father without tears coming to your eyes, you know. And that's going to be lifelong, right?
Absolutely.
It's going to be lifelong.
Yeah, I've accepted that at this point. Yeah.
But
I'm not ashamed of it.
No, and you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be.
Because if you knew him, you would.
That's what I was going to say. What a testament to who Randy Beck was.
Right.
You know, not just to his church people, but to his children. You know, and I can only pray that when my time comes, hopefully I die before my kids. I don't think any parent should have to ever bury a child. That's a horrible thing. But hopefully. And I'm not saying like I want it to affect them negatively, you know what I mean? But I want them to be as passionate about me as you guys are about him. Yes. But it just goes to show that it doesn't, listening to your experience and your guys' experience and comparing it to mine, it doesn't always take a loved one passing like that to make you ask that question, God, are you there? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just, it's anything in life, you know? And again, I go back and I know I feel it sounds like I bag on the church a lot. I'm not trying to do that in any kind of way, but you said several key things there. The miracle's about to happen. We were in agreement. Yeah. All these things were taught, right? Where two or more are gathered.
Yes.
If you believe, you just have the faith of a mustard seed. Yeah. You know, and here's the thing about a mustard seed.
And you also have a lot of, and I'm not like you, not knocking on the church people, but you also had a lot of church people that reached out to my mom and to me and him. Yeah. Hey, I've had a dream.
Yeah, I had a dream.
You know, I call them fake prophets.
Yeah.
You know,
and
hey,
just trying to
your daddy's going, you know, your daddy's going to be all right. Yeah. I talked to God this morning.
Yeah.
It's all good. You know.
Yeah. Once they flip the switch
you believe
off.
those. You believe those people to a certain point. You're like, oh man, you know, that's a praying, working man or woman. Yeah. Like they, you know. Yeah. All right, maybe I'm just too close to the situation, God, but thank you for that confirmation. Yeah. You know, it just pumps you just so full of faith.
Well, and that and again, that's where we should be, right? We should be full of faith. We should be expecting God to do the big thing and to do the miracle, right? But that's the one thing where, and again, it feels like I'm bagging on the church. I'm not, but where the church fails is we hang on certain scriptures. And I'm not saying you can't do that, right? John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever shall believe in him shall have eternal life. Most of us don't understand what that word believe means. You're right. Faith the size of a mustard seed can tear this mountain, be moved here to there. We all think it's about the mustard seed being tiny, but what we don't know about a mustard seed is when you plant it and it grows into what it grows into, animals nest in it. Its roots grow deep. Very few things can kill it. It turns into this big bush, essentially. Maybe that scripture is not talking about having that little bitty tiny amount of faith. Yeah. But that little bitty tiny amount of faith can expand into something great and big if you let it, when it gets its roots settled, right? Yeah. So we don't teach context enough through the scripture. Yeah. Jeremiah 29:11, I say this all the time, coffee cup scripture, right? Yeah. Was not written to you and I. It was written to Jeremiah for the Israelites. Yeah. Yeah. God said it. We can apply it, right? We can have faith that God's going to do it. But the problem is, and again, because we don't want to make God look weak or make God out to be a failure, but we don't teach people that God's will is greater than ours. Right. And sometimes God's will brings us pain, but through the pain, he sustains us and he makes something else grow and become better. And I say that as an example of Dora Church of God. Yeah. When Randy Beck passed, it rocked Dora, the community of Dora. I don't know how many people are in Dora and Somerton, but it rocked that community. It did. And I would say it rocked beyond that. The ripple effect of that was good, even 12 years later, you know, to the point of the church has taken care of your mother. You know, they allowed them to stay in the house and all those things, you know. So there's so many things that so many good things that came out of it, but so many bad things as well. Yeah. Yeah. And the problem is we have not been taught how to handle
the ugly.
Ugly.
Mm-hmm. Wes, you preached a message years ago, and I'll never forget it. And you were talking
because I'm awesome. But no, I'm just kidding.
You were talking. The name slipped my mind. Anyway, God told him the devil's going to test you, but I pray that your faith fail you not.
I don't remember.
You know, it's been years ago. I can't remember who you were talking about in the Bible. And that's so ashamed that I don't even know. And anyway, but I think about it, it's like, man, you know, the word is supposed to be taken as a whole.
Sift you as wheat.
Sift you as wheat. That's it. Yeah. And I'll never forget you preaching that. And it's stuck with me all these years. Even though I hadn't wanted to hear it, I have to go back and play it in my mind, hearing it from you. Because it's like, okay, I take the good parts of the Bible, and we all do. We're, you know,
sure, that's what we want to do.
You don't have ugly scriptures posted on coffee cups or tattoos or anything like that. But I think about it often as like, you know, he told you bad things are going to come. Mm-hmm. But your faith, I pray that your faith fail you not. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think about that all the time. I'll never forget you preaching that, because it's like, man, you know, it's right. Like, you know, I can't let, you know, my faith fail me. Like and it's been hard the past 12 years.
Sure.
To try to,
And it's how easily we forget
Yeah.
Job.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Done nothing wrong.
Done nothing wrong.
Nothing.
And everything essentially was took from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his faith never wavered.
Yeah.
Right.
And he dug in.
Yeah.
And in the end, he was
restored.
blessed.
Yeah.
He was restored. And we forget that. It's when things get hard, okay, well, we fold. It's daily.
Yeah.
I'm just as guilty as anybody. It's folding. One thing that Dad said leading up to everything, it was just this comment. He would always just slip in anywhere. Well, if God can raise Jesus in 3 days, he can raise me in 3 days. If anything ever happens.
Yeah.
That was his mindset. And that was his faith.
Yeah.
And, everything led up and they traked him, essentially put him on life support. After 3 days, that was his wish.
Yeah.
If it's not God's will to raise me up in 3 days, it's not his will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. But and that's the human side of us, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's the human side of us. This whole podcast, Among the Ashes, comes from the story of Job. I feel, and I may be wrong, do y'all know how long it took Job to get an answer from God? 32 days.
Oh, wow.
There's 32 chapters from the time that all the bad stuff happened. I think it's 32 chapters later, God finally answers Job. But in that time frame, so many people came to Job and said, even his wife, curse
Best
God and
friend,
die.
Everybody.
Well, you must have made God angry.
Yeah.
You must have done this.
Yeah.
You must have done that.
What have your kids done?
What have your kids done?
Yeah.
All these things, and it kept Job's mind polluted. It kept it from being able to be open to hearing God speak. And maybe God would have taken that long anyway. I don't know. But my thought is this: when people are going through things like this, sometimes we just need to shut up and sit down with them. If more people would have sat amongst the ashes with him, if they would have sat down among the ashes with him and gotten dirty with him, he's in his ash heap, he's cutting himself, he's doing all these things, right? If people would have just sat with him instead of saying, hey, maybe you did this or maybe you did that, if more people would have said, hey, bro, I don't know if God's going to heal your dad, but I've prayed and I've asked. And if he does, great. But if he doesn't, God is still with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. That would.
And again, not that those people are doing what they've been taught.
And in all honesty,
They're trying to bring comfort.
I'll be fully, transparent. I would have still been angry.
Sure.
Angry.
Sure.
Yeah.
Everything. It got to the point like I couldn't even accept somebody saying, I'm sorry for your loss. I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
You don't know what I'm going through.
Yeah, because you're not going through it.
You're not going through it.
If
you're
one
not,
more person comes up to the view and says, we're going to miss him as much as you.
Yeah.
I'm not your son.
Yeah.
My father's right there. That's the only man that could call me son.
Yeah.
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 It's still the human side of it.
Yeah, and that's the human nature, right? Is to try to bring comfort where we can, and oftentimes we don't understand that maybe just shutting up and being there is enough.
Yeah.
It
is.
And I think there's something significant, with my struggles, 13 and a half, 14 years. Y'all struggled for 12 years. I've met so many people that have struggled in between that 10 and 15 year time frame. And since I've been on this journey, and the one thing that I've gone back to was David. When David became king, when God anointed David king, he didn't become king immediately, right? He went back and he tended sheep for a period of time.
Yeah. Yep.
And in that period of time, he went to war for Saul, and he became Saul's greatest warrior, and then he became Saul's greatest enemy. And a lot of scholars think that time frame is between about 10 and 15 years.
Wow.
I bring that up to say I think most people, especially people with a calling on their life and people that God has set apart for a specific purpose, goes through a season just like what I've gone through, just like what you're going through, things like Marcus has gone through. For me, it's like I could have learned the lesson that I needed to have learned in 13 seconds if I would have just been willing.
Yes.
But I wasn't.
Yes.
But because of where, and I'm not proud of where I was at for that amount of time, but looking back on it, there's things I would like to change, right? There's things that maybe I would have wanted to do differently because of how it's affected my marriage, or it's affected my kids, or relationships with other people. But in the broad scheme of things, I don't know that I would have learned how to take care of who God's called me to be. You know, we talk about the fruit of the Spirit. We talk about the gifts of the Spirit. The gifts are easy, right?
Yeah.
The fruit is what's hard. And if the Holy Spirit truly lives inside of us, the fruit's going to come out. It's going to produce, right?
Yeah.
And even in the bad times, it's going to produce. And that's one thing that I want you two to be encouraged in is even though I've known you've struggled, and forgive me for not being there like I should, I guess, or whatever. Yeah. We all get busy. We all have life. But I still see fruit being produced from both of you. You know what I mean? All that your dad instilled in you guys over 28 years of your life, 23 years of yours, all those things he instilled have made you into the men that you are right now. And that's because of God's guidance in his life, you know? Yeah. And that's one thing that I think we take for granted is, oh, he's just my dad. Yeah. Or he's just my pastor, or he's just my friend, he's just my brother. No, people are in our lives for a reason, and we need to wake up and see that and learn from it and continue to let that fruit be produced, even in the times that we're saying, God, are you there? Oh, yeah. You know? Because I think we all go through that at some point. You know, it may not be 13 years or 15 years, or but it may be a week or two. It may, at some point, everybody in their walk with God is saying, God, are you there? And then if you've never tried Christ, you've never, you know, like Kody said a minute ago, there's all these different religions. Which one's right? Everybody's had that moment. But if you break it down, all these other religions, there is not one religion, save Christianity, that if you apply the principles that Jesus taught, increases your life and everyone around you. Right. It makes your life and everyone around you's life better. There's not one religion out there that if you do every principle that leader taught can make everybody's life better. It may make yours better, but it's not making others better. Yeah. And that's the thing about Christianity. We want to look at all the negative things that happen and the bad. You know, God was a God of genocide, and he killed the Canaanites and Amalekites and da-da-da and this, that, and the third. He also killed his son. Yeah. So that you can live. Right. Yeah. None of those people were innocent because they were in a fallen state. Yeah. The humanity was in a fallen state at that point. Right. The Canaanites, the Amalekites, they were coming against God's chosen people. And at that point in time, God didn't care about anybody but the Israelites. But at some point, God said, you know what? The world's growing and it's worth it. So I'm going to send a Savior, you know? And so we can question God, and I think it's okay to question God. I think it's okay to get mad at him. Yeah. One thing that I feel like God said to me one time was, why do you hide from me? Which lines up with the Genesis story, right? When God comes to the garden and Adam and Eve's hiding, you know. Why do you hide the things that you're thinking and the things that you're feeling from me? I already know it. Yeah. Just tell me. Yeah. Just say it. Yeah. And when I started doing that, not only do I feel like I started growing spiritually, but there was something freeing inside of me because I'm no longer bound and being held by something that nobody knows. And nobody else knew it either, but me and God did. Yeah. But I'm not keeping a secret from him, you know? Right. And when we begin to truly speak to God and we begin to truly share our hearts with God, and again, I'm not saying you shouldn't go to him and, you know, God, you're holy and wonderful and all these things, right? You should do those things. He's your father. But at the same time, I think there's probably times that y'all went to Randy Beck and you wasn't so happy with him. And you probably let him know. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's the same thing with God, right? So we want to tiptoe around God instead of realizing that he's our father. He's there to listen. You know, he's there to comfort us, even if we don't like what he's got to say or what he's doing in our life. Okay, well, now I know you feel that way. Yeah. Thank you for talking to me, and let me help you through it. You know, we just fail to realize that.
I think a lot of it, you know, if we're all honest with ourselves, submitting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's having to put your pride down.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
going to him and essentially with your head down, like you're going to your father, like you know you're fixing to get just tore apart. It's hard for us too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Especially as a man.
as a man.
Well,
yeah.
I heard
I
I heard a wise woman say recently, my wife, everybody wants a savior, but not everybody wants a Lord.
Yeah.
And there's the difference.
Yeah.
Big time.
You can be saved and it not be a heaven and hell issue. You can be saved and make it to heaven and him still not be your Lord.
Right.
That's
still not have that relationship.
that's what Jesus was talking about, right?
Submission.
Yep.
That's Jesus's point, right? It's more than salvation.
Yeah.
If you love me, you'll keep my commands, right? If you love me, you'll do what I say, because what I'm telling you to do is going to make your life better, but it's going to make everybody else's life better too.
I mean, it's like our dad would tell us if we did go with him a problem, you know, hey, well, this is how you work it out. This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
He always had scripture
We
for
wouldn't.
it too.
We wouldn't listen. I know I didn't. I'd go try to do it my own way. And then he was like, you know, and part of me was like, man, if I go back to him, he's just going to rub it in my face.
Yep.
And yeah, he's going to rag on me because he's human. But I think that's the same way. Are you done doing? Are you done doing you and trying? All right, come on.
And that's one thing I can.
So losing your dad, I mean, my dad passed away suddenly. You know what I mean?
And he was also a great man.
It was like, hey, I got a call. Hey, your dad, he's gone.
Yeah.
You know, ever had the chance to tell him bye or nothing like that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And days go by, still to this day, it's like, man, I wish I could call him. You know what I mean? And tell him this.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
I can see the resentment. I never really had that from my dad passing. You know, I could see the resentment in that, and you guys with your dad. But I can also see the Lord showing you guys in
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
that, hey, I'm the reason
That we did get 54 years.
that
you
you
know,
did.
or
do you
23 or however.
Who do you think your dad's strength was when you were talking about losing your compass?
Yeah.
Who do you think your dad's compass was?
That's what I told you. What?
Look to me, son. I'm the compass.
Yeah. You know.
I've never left you. Just realize I'm still here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can be mad at me,
Yeah.
buddy, but realize I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still the reason for you.
Yep.
I'm still enough for you.
Yeah. Well, I told you, you know, the other day at work, you know, you lose your compass, you lose your anchor. And recently, like now for these whole 11 years, no, I haven't just been through with God, whatever, to a certain extent. But a couple years after he passed away, I took you know, I kind of was like, hey, look, if I'm going to see him again, I've got to start working. I've got to start, you know, I've got to get in church and I got to start. So I did. And that's, you know, shortly after that, we're playing co-ed volleyball when, you know, Pastor Kimberly reached out to me over at Dilworth. It's like, hey, you're going to think I'm crazy, but is there any chance that you would consider being a youth pastor? And I thought, man, yeah, because that's, you know, I've always felt like I had a calling, and I was like, yes, I would love to do that. And I took that, and we done that for a little bit, and then some things happened, and, you know, I fell out. It's like, again, I fell out with God, you know, and that's another story. But recently, me and my wife had made a decision that, hey, look, we got to get back in church. We've got to get back in church. We're making excuses. We're not, you know, we're leading the kids right and everything, you know, and God had been working on me a long time before me and her ever had that conversation. Cause he was like, when you doing a great job on that physical man, when are you going to get that? When are you going to start getting that spiritual man? When is that spiritual man going to, you know? So we had that talk and we got back in church. And I told Marcus not too long ago when he was at the plant, that same conversation, I said, man, you know, you lose your compass and your anchor. And you're like, and I get so mad. Like, what am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to call on? How do I figure this life out without my dad? that already knew all this stuff. Like, you know, not knowing that, hey, he was figuring out life too as the years went by. He just
his first time living as well.
Right. It was his first time living as well. And it was like God told me, I know he was your compass and he was your anchor, but I created the compass.
Yeah.
I created the anchor. I'm the compass of all compasses. I'm the anchor that surpasses them all. And that spoke to me so, I mean, it got me fired up. I get fired up when I think about that. It's like, man, this whole time I've been thinking I'm down on this earth without a compass. Like, my compass was telling me, hey, look, I'm not the compass you really need, but there's a man up there that is the true compass and the anchor. And I just felt like he, was telling me that, hey, look, I created your compass. What he was telling you, I told him.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't got to go through, and I would still do it even if he was here. But it was like, little by little, I see, hey, okay, well, maybe if that situation hadn't happened and it didn't completely just break me down, maybe if this other situation, when I did start trying to be a youth pastor, didn't happen and it totally just break me down again, maybe I wouldn't be so submissive that I've been for the past, month. Recently trying to get my life back in order. And maybe I can start seeing some of the tidbits. Some of the pieces are starting to fall in. It's like, hey, okay, as great as a man that Randy was, he was still a man. Mm-hmm. I told somebody the other day at work when they were, your dad must have been real great. I said, well, I mean, if you ask me, you had 3 men that walked the face of the earth. That was great. And I said it went Jesus, Randy Beck, and Nick Saban, Roll Tide.
I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that.
I said those are the 3 greatest men I think's ever walked the face of the earth. So, and he's number 2. Just, and he's just a close second to Jesus, the perfect one. But I start seeing some of those things. I start seeing some of the situations that happened even after his death when we were trying to be youth pastors and stuff like that. And then it's like, okay, I could have learned it in 13 seconds and I could have learned it with without a lot of these heartaches and stuff. But would I really gotten it the way I'm getting it now?
Would you be the man you are?
And the answer is no.
No. There's no way around that.
No, because me and you talked. Like, I finally, for the first time in my life, stopped making excuses about the way I took care of myself physically, the way I've been taking care of myself spiritually. Like, I had to put all those excuses away and start figuring out what a man is. And the first step was, well, when I was a child, I spoke like a child and I acted like a child. But when I became a man, I put away child. We all, I know you don't, but you're a great uncle, so you hear the kid. All kids have great excuses.
Yeah,
they're the great. I was being childish.
Well, and that's the thing.
And I'm having to start putting away childish things to become a man. Like this becoming a man. Yes. Like, I've got to put away these childish things and start acting like a man. And what is a man? I can't give you a detailed answer, but it starts with Christ.
And that's ultimately where it comes back. And and I have people debate me on this. Like, so you're saying you can't be a man without Christ? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there are things that we as men need to do in general, right?
Right.
But it's so much deeper than and again, that's what poses the question, right? Because we have these stereotypes of what we think men are.
Right.
But a real man will submit to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
that's
if you want to challenge me on it,
masculine thing you can do.
Yes.
Submit.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Like, we can go through life and we can make excuses or we can learn the lessons either way. But if Christ isn't the center of that, there's still going to be something missing.
Always.
And because here's the deal, your mom's been sick. She's been battling cancer the last few years. She's gonna pass at some point. Hopefully not from cancer. Hopefully she's an old woman and you guys are old and the kids are grown and she's got great grandkids.
Yeah.
But whether it be today or whether it be 30 years from now and she passes, it's still gonna rock your world.
Yeah.
Are you gonna let it destroy you the same way it did your dad.
Yeah. Like he said, are we going to let it define us?
Yes.
We're going to let it,
That's
for
the
a long,
key, right?
He's right. For a long time, that Pastor Randy Beck defined us. And it was like we were just living off his good works.
Right.
It was, me and you talked about this, like, I'm the leader of that family now. I'm the oldest. I'm not taking nothing away from him because he's done a great job of taking care of our mother and being there for everybody. I give him his flowers. He has. But, to lead a family, you've got to be a man. And like you said, it might not be in Christ. I think to be the man that I'm supposed to be and that I need to be and everything that I'm facing, it's got to be Christ centered.
Got to be Christ centered, right?
It's got to be Christ centered. And that was the example I got.
Yeah.
So, and it was a good example. And so I started thinking about that. It's like, okay, it's not his job to lead everybody. He does his part, but also he needs some direction too. He was 23 when Dad died.
Yeah.
He's going to get married. He's going to have kids, he's going to get his payback. I know he is. No.
Well,
but you know what? I want him to be able to come to me.
Absolutely.
And be like, hey, look, this is going on. And how can I really give him the answer that he needs or tell, I've had to experience it. Hey, look, I went through the same, me and Lindsay dealt with the same stuff. Oh, okay. Look, I dealt with this with Cole. Eli done this. And I can either tell him this is how I handled it. This is how it turned out. And I think this is the right way. Or in my case, it's going to be a lot. Well, I tried this and it didn't work out. So you might want to try, but I gotta be the pillar. Dad told us, not only when he passed away, like he had been on life support. They had done an exploratory surgery. And when they were going to put him to sleep, they said, look, there's a good chance he might not wake up. And Dad said, I don't care. I'm hurting. Figure out what's going on inside of my stomach.
Just get it.
Let's just get it over with. And that was our pretty much goodbye. It was the last time we got to talk to him.
It was. I'll never forget. I don't mean to cut you off. The night that Auburn played Florida State for the national championship.
Yeah.
He was in surgery. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had just a few minutes alone.
Yeah.
That was the last time I heard his voice.
Yeah.
You
Thank God Auburn didn't win, or that would have been probably the worst day of our lives.
It really would have. Because
thank God Gus choked.
Looking back, I'll never forget. Yeah. He was in Huntsville with his dad watching Alabama lose to Oklahoma that year. Yeah. And it was already disgusted enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks to
what's
Bob
crazy,
Stoops and them.
Not to get off subject, what's crazy, I told somebody this the other day. My dad, huge Alabama fan. I mean, when he was younger, he only ate Golden Flake potato chips and drank Coca-Cola because that's what Bear Bryant did.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that was, and there was no choice when we were growing up. Hey, you can like this team or not. You'd be finding another home if you didn't bleed crimson, in which, again, he was right. That's the right decision in our life, We're winners.
He had no problem even making his sister-in-law.
Yeah,
don't buy nothing.
Do not buy nothing.
Orange and blue.
Yeah, orange and blue.
If
not even the color
colors
scheme
was in the same scheme. It didn't matter if it was a sweatshirt, a sweat. It didn't
matter anything.
That's funny.
Even regardless of the shade of orange or blue.
I don't allow orange in my house.
Yeah.
But I was thinking,
other than my Harley symbol back up behind.
the last football play that we ever got to see him. The last play that me and him watched, Alabama football, me and him and Cody watched, was the kick six. How horrible is that?
Yeah, that's terrible.
I still wonder if maybe that was what did it. That Oklahoma game was just the icing on the broke his heart. It was over with. He couldn't come back from that. But no, but I remember
it started in November. It wasn't that
quick. It wasn't that quick. It started. But I remember him, hey, take care of your mama, look to God, do all this and everything. Yeah. I remember, I don't even know if they were in the room. I'm pretty sure they wasn't in the room. I don't think nobody was in there but me and Lindsay, and she was over in the corner, and we were talking. And he said, hey, if I don't make it out of this, you take care of your mother, and you take care of your brother, and you lead them to Christ, and you be there for them. That was his last thing that he told me. And so when me and you were talking about that, about leading and everything, it's like, you know what? I often wonder sometimes, hey, it would be great to hear him say how proud he was. You know, I've accomplished a lot since he's been gone. A lot's happened in my life since he's been gone. I would love to hear that. I'm proud of you. And I was thinking, you know, here recently in the last month, you know, trying to be a leader, trying to be a man, trying to, you know, be there for my family the way I should be. I thought, man, I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm doing his last thing that he asked me to do. And that was and I know he would be proud.
Well, and that's the key, right? You know, when we had that conversation, you are the leader of the family. And, you know, I reference David a lot because there's a lot to be learned there. When David looked upon Bathsheba, he's on the rooftop, and we got to land this plane because I've got to get out of here in just a minute. But he looked upon Bathsheba, and the Bible says that, you know, she was beautiful and all this, and he had to have her, right? So he brings her in, he gets her pregnant, and he summons her husband. Well, who do you have summon the husband? I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a relative. He was a close relative. He was cousin something, but either way, it was his right-hand man, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So he goes and gets him, brings him in, and he tells him, hey, go home and be with your wife. He's trying to cover it up, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the guy says, oh, no, I'm serving my king. I'm going back to war. No, you're not. You're going home. Well, he slept outside the gates, like of David's, slept outside David's quarters. Well, the next day, David's upset about that, and he goes to his right-hand guy, and he says, hey, look, if he won't go home, then you take him back to war, and you put him on the front line.
Yeah.
And he did that. And what happened? He was overtaken and killed. Yeah. Whose responsibility is that?
David.
It's David's.
Yeah.
It's not the guy. The guy just did what he was told to do.
Right.
The guy just followed orders. I can't remember his name, but he was just following David's orders, right? So he could have spent the rest of his life saying, well, I was in the right because I did what David told me to do. Yeah. But you know, he still felt guilty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the same responsibility with you and with me. You know, I'm the only male that my mother had, so it's my responsibility to lead my sister and her boys and their daughter and husband and my mom. And, you know, I'm the man of my family. Marcus is the man of his family, you know. Now, that's not taking away from my brother-in-law. It's not taking away from Jimmy. It's not taking away from Cody or anything like that. Yeah. But we have responsibilities as men to lead our families in some way, form, or fashion. Now, if we're not willing to do that, hopefully somebody else is willing to, right? If Kendall's not willing to, then Cody, you have to. Yeah. You know, if I'm not willing to, then it falls to Keegan or it falls to my nephew Weston, you know. Yeah. But it shouldn't fall to them until I'm no longer there for them to take up that mantle, you know. But that also doesn't mean that you just sit back, Cody, and follow orders either. Sometimes it's like, hey, man, I don't think that's the right thing to do.
Do not tell him that.
I don't think that's the right thing to do, you know. No. But that's all part of the growing and learning process, right? Yes. It's are we willing to step up and be the men that God's called us to be? And the thing that we have to realize is, as much as the people around us, and like I said at the beginning of the show, nobody else may see the growth in me, but I do. Right. I see the change because I don't wake up every day wanting to die. Even though there's nothing wrong in my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't wake up with the selfish thoughts of, well, if my pain would end, then it just ends and I don't have to worry about anything. Not thinking about the pain of my wife and children and my mom and my sister, y'all, you know, my friends. I no longer think that way. I'm constantly thinking about what can I do for my friends? What can I do for my family? What can I do? You know, so it's our
taken
job
almost 12 years though, Wes, and I know there are still times that I get this way, but, you know, submit myself here a couple months ago to, you know, back to God and saying, hey, I'm tired of excuses. I'm ready to be a man. Show me, teach me, do what I need. I told somebody the other day, man, it feels so good not to wake up every day mad at the world, blaming God, blaming everybody.
It's free,
your dad's dead. You know, your mother's got cancer. You know, your baby brother's just, you know, he's just falling apart because, you know, mentally he didn't know how to. I'm not angry at all that stuff anymore.
He just rolls you all
Not
under the
that
bus.
he was. No, I'm just saying I know that boy
Cody's
struggles.
like, where was I at?
No, but I know he struggles because that's
Yeah.
my baby brother. So I love him to death, and I know he hurts.
Yeah.
And I see that. Like his hurt is my hurt.
It's just
like I
like
see
trying
that.
to hide my hurt from my dad. I
Yeah.
couldn't. You can't hide it from my brother.
Yeah, you can't, but for the first time in my life, and it feels so liberating and free not to wake up and not to go into the bathroom like I do every morning, go in the bathroom, look in that mirror, and just be angry and disappointed at the man I see.
Yeah.
For the first time in 39 years, I'm liking what I see in the mirror. I like what I feel like I'm turning into. Maybe nobody else can see it.
Sure.
But I can see it.
Well, and that's the thing. It really doesn't matter whether anybody else sees it or not because it's your walk, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And if you're walking it and you're doing it correctly, even if people don't see it, they're going to benefit from it.
Yeah.
They're going to reap the benefits of what you're doing. Again, the whole principle of making disciples, right? If we're making disciples or we're loving our neighbor, we're doing the principles of Christ. Everybody benefits from what we're doing. Yeah. So if my tree is producing fruit, I'm not the only one eating from it. Everybody's eating from it, and that's the ultimate goal. And to me, that's how you sum up a man, right? It's not about what you know and what you can do. Some of those things are just part of being a man. Mm-hmm. But when everybody benefits from what you know and what you're doing, even if you don't know what you're doing and they're still benefiting from it, then you're succeeding as a man. Man, I could wrap it up with that. I ain't never got to ask that question again. Thank you, Lord. But anyway, well, guys, man, like I said, I hate to cut it off. Well, I could continue talking. I told you it goes fast.
Yeah, it does.
It
You don't
does.
even realize you're doing it.
Nope.
But I appreciate you guys coming on. I know it's not an easy topic to talk about. And honestly, I don't think God's just sitting there saying, Kody, Kendall, get over it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's doing that. But I do think he's saying, hey man, I'm here.
Look to me.
Look to me, and I'll walk you through it, and I'll make you the men that I'll make you the men that I want you to be, and those men will make Randy Beck proud. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I can tell you this.
Thank you guys because this feels great. This is good for me.
It really does.
Like I don't know how he feels about it. This is the first time I've ever really got all this out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so thank y'all for this opportunity.
When you first brought it up, all about it. And then he texted me and was like, hey, this is what we're going to be talking about. I was nervous.
I figured it'd be hard for you.
But I'm glad. So thank y'all.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. Man. Thank y'all.
But not only that, know your walk ain't alone. You've got brothers here that's
yeah,
absolutely
helping you grow, helping you pick you up, covering you in prayer. You know what I mean?
Well, it's nice to know you two are just as screwed up as I am.
Dude, you have no clue, man. You have no clue how jacked up I am. If people knew how messed up I am, really, they would never listen to anything I got to say, man. I am a
no. And for everybody that's listening, man, I have always looked up to Wes and Marcus. They are like two big brothers that I never had or. Sorry, Gator. My bad. But no, I've told them that recently, look up to you guys. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Like a couple of uncles. You know, I can remember no, for real. Like
what's up, Unc? How's it going on?
Yeah.
What's happening, Unc?
For me, because I can remember playing football and Little League football and you up in the stands screaming, double stuff, like you was always there watching, supporting, and then getting to go and watch y'all do, your dramas and the disciples and getting to just be around y'all was.
And I tell you,
I was that was the best time ever just to be around because, like you said, I looked up to y'all.
Yeah,
I remember making Kendall do push-ups for being late to disciples, and it's like I don't know how he looked up to me because that joker did push-ups every day. But
every
again,
Sunday I missed.
But again, it's that stuff like that goes back to being young and zealous in the Lord and not realizing what making disciples means. You're just trying to do something for God because you feel a calling on your life, and how quickly you could really screw people up. But thank God He put those blinders on. And we've been able to maintain that relationship, throughout the years. So I'm sorry if I did screw y'all up.
No,
I know we're trying to wrap up, and it's one thing I've never said this to you, but remembering how y'all put everything into doing the dramas, every lashing, every move, it was with purpose.
Yeah.
And that's what you drilled into him. We're doing this with purpose. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it this way. And, you know, having grown up, getting in dramas as a teenager and in the church, and then even coming up with a few after being an adult and teaching kids, it's, you know, Easter plays. I can remember playing a soldier and just did it with a purpose.
Yeah, you do it like you're
because
doing it for
we
him.
don't know if there's going to be a visitor or somebody who needs to see
Whose
the
life's gonna be affected
brutality
by that.
and the realization of what actually happened. And so I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
And
That's the
just-
Lord. I remember poor Casey Mitchell, man. We poured a red Cairo syrup. Took Cairo syrup. Is playing Jesus, and I had
and
this.
he got Nance too.
Yeah, he
Remember?
did. I had this sermon about the brutality of the cross, and like I went into what Jesus suffered with, and what, you know, everything being exposed, and him being mutilated to the point to where you couldn't tell if he was male or female, and like it's this gruesome scene. And we got the bright idea to put fake blood on Casey, and somebody said, "Yeah, you just use Cairo syrup." So we took that Cairo syrup and we mixed it and we poured it. And I mean, he's a bloody mess when he comes out, right? And he ended up stepping in ants that night. It was outside. He got ate up, but he was red for like 2 weeks after that. His skin was red. So,
And
you live and
Marcus, I
learn.
always thought, man, I always have thought that you were a great dad, because your dad, I loved Rick to death, and I got to coach with him. And you were coaching Kyle, the grade above, like the age above us. But I looked up to you in that way. Like I saw how you were with, you know, your daughter and your son. And I always thought, man, what a great dad. I hope I'm being as good a dad to Cole and Eli and my daughters as Marcus is being, and the relationship you two had, you and your dad had, and you and Kyle and y'all. And I was like, man, I always admired that. So I always looked up to you in that way. And Rick he was an awesome. He taught me a lot about how to coach defense, you know. It's his way or the highway. Anyway.
I'll tell you one thing Rick Chapman couldn't do. He couldn't fish. He carried me to Gunnersville. He caught one about this long, and I caught a 4-pounder.
He can make some jigs.
Greatest day of my life. I outfished Rick Chapman. No, man, Uncle Rick. I miss him. He
Absolutely.
fortunately, when I was, you know, youth pastor at the church, you know, I could come and go as I pleased, really, and I spent a lot of time with Uncle Rick the last probably 2 or 3 years of his life. At least once a week, he and I, we would go to Bass Pro or something just because he's at home, and he'd call me, he's like, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I was like, "Well, I got to go do this." And he's, "Oh, I was going to go to Bass Pro." So, but sounds like we're going to Bass Pro then, you know.
Yeah.
And me and him and Keegan would load up and we'd go, you know. So I was thankful to get to have that time
Hey,
with
what are
him.
you doing? Me and Wes over at Bass Pro.
Yeah, yeah. We're looking at fishing poles.
Thanks for the invite, Dad. I'd have liked to have went too.
Can't help it, you had a job. Well, all right, guys. We're going to get out of here, man. I appreciate you guys coming on, man. We love you. We're here for you. And if we can do anything, you know where we're at. You guys got any social medias or anything like that you want to shout out?
You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
How do we find you?
it's Kendall Beck.
Kendall Beck. So if his stories
That's
touch
2
you,
L's.
and
KENDALL.
there you go. Look him up. And I think we need to go on and create Kody a matchmaker.
Oh, man.
We're double stuff.
Swipe
That's how you're gonna
right,
look it up.
ladies.
Double stuff, ladies. Listen, not only are we taking applications,
Who is with a K?
yeah, Kody with a K.
Please.
Who are we taking applications on?
Kyle,
Kyle and
Cody,
who was Jalen?
Jaden.
So Kyle and Jaden, and now Kody. So send your application. Not all applications will be accepted.
Right.
We do need a photo, and I'm not talking a catfish photo, ladies. We need a photo. Dress modestly, okay? But we need to know what you look like. That's not as important as we need to know your spiritual background, and do you have a job? I'm just kidding about that. Are you
hunting land?
Do you? Yeah. Here's the important things.
Picture of the
Do
boat.
you or your dad have a bass boat? Yeah. Do you or your dad have hunting land? Are you an Alabama fan?
Yes.
If you can fill those
Y'all
three
have lake
requirements,
houses,
yeah.
beach houses.
We'll teach you Jesus.
If you can fill those three requirements, 4 requirements,
Yeah.
if you can fill that, it really
I'm not
doesn't matter
very
what you
picky,
look
but
like. Yeah. So, All right, guys. Well, we love you. And listen, if you guys are checking us out for the first time, like I said at the beginning of the show, if you hadn't done it already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. All of that stuff helps us out. We also want you to be a part of the Among the Ashes family. So, yeah, if you're listening on YouTube, do that. And then if you're listening on any podcast platform, you can find us. Go look up Among the Ashes podcast and hit the follow button there. Leave us a comment, 5-star rating. You want to give us a shout out in any kind of way, you got a question, comment, show idea, you want to come on the show, email us amongtheashes@yahoo.com, or you can look us up on TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram, and that's all searchable by Among the Ashes podcast. So all that being said, we're going to get out of here. Remember this, Romans 8:31 says, if God be for you, who can be against you? And if that's the case, you got today whooped, right? Jesus loves you, so do we. You guys go crush today. I can't talk tonight. Keep your heads up. We'll see you next time.